know what I find absolutely amazing about the human body is that given the opportunity, the body actually has the ability to heal itself. And most often, we don't actually give the body a chance to do something natural in order to help heal it. We're often running off to the local doctor's office to try and see what kind of medication we can get on. And most of those medications actually don't really get to the root cause of what the issue is in your body, and instead, they tend to mask what's going on in your body. Did you know that a person who has been smoking maybe their entire life, so maybe they started smoking when they were 15, which of course is really young, but it's not uncommon, and they smoke until the time they're maybe 30, and they decide when they hit 30 years of age that they want to quit smoking. And so from 30 until age 45, they're no longer smoking. And so that's a period of 15 years. Did you know that the lungs of that person are basically the same as a person who's never smoked? So your lungs have the absolute ability to completely heal themselves, which I find amazing. Did you know that most people tend to have a difficult time, and especially people that are in their adolescent years, in their 20s and 30s, having a future view of what their health might look at like. So they tend to be eating for the moment, I guess you could say. They're not really all that interested, for the most part, in what's going to happen when they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. And so the interesting thing is, though, that when you are eating a diet that is highly processed food, and I'm going to use McDonald's for an example because there was a study done where if you were to have a McDonald's breakfast, and in this case, a sausage McMuffin and egg with a hash brown, that just within a couple of hours, the arteries actually stiffened, and it was a visible amount of stiffening of the arteries just by having one McDonald's breakfast. And so you can imagine the type of inflammation that is going on in your arteries in your body if you are having more than one highly processed food in a day. So, for example, for somebody who was going to be, maybe they work downtown away from their homes, they're not eating a lot of home cooked meals, and so they go to McDonald's for breakfast, and their body is digesting the food and whatnot. And then, these arteries start to stiffen because of the low grade inflammation in their body. And then their body's just sort of starting to get back to a place of normalcy, let's say. And then, oh, it's lunchtime. So for lunch, we're going to go out and who knows, maybe they go back to McDonald's or they're going to another fast food place. And so I think you get the idea that whatever they're going to have next is also lending to more low grade inflammation in their body. And this is how a lot of people in North America live their lives. Their body is in a state of constantly being in a low grade inflammation condition. And it's just from eating these highly processed foods. So, can you imagine what would happen if we didn't do even something so drastic? A lot of people are going on the carnivore diets and the keto diets. And I'm not saying that the keto diet's specifically drastic. I do tend to think that the carnivore diet's a bit drastic. But if we just stepped away from having all these processed foods and sugar laden foods, I wonder how our bodies might react and how much more healthful they would be just from doing some of those simple things. So, more studies show that it's not just about animal fats and proteins that are causing issues within our bodies, but something called endotoxins. And endotoxins are a type of bacteria found in animal products and meats that is not actually killed off by the stomach acid or by cooking. So, what happens is when we're consuming these products on a regular basis, the endotoxins end up in our intestines and then eventually in our bloodstream. And they cause this constant low grade inflammation in the body. So, if the body is constantly having the processed foods and the meats and the animal products with these endotoxins, that is what can cause a lot of problem in our bodies. And so, if you stay around at this channel for a while, you'll probably note that what I encourage people to do in order to heal their body and to reverse things such as type 2 diabetes, as I was able to successfully do, is to look at changing the way that you eat. And I want to hesitate in using the word diet because really it is a lifestyle change. A lot of people will go on a diet for a period of time and I think somebody coined the phrase diet or is like die with a T at the end of it, and I tend to agree. So when you're wanting to change your health for life, you're going to change your lifestyle and the way that you're eating. And so I encourage people to look at doing what is known as the whole foods plant-based diet, which really consists of no meats and very little in the way of animal products at all. I admit I do occasionally have a little bit of butter in my diet, but for the most parts, we're not eating meat or any of that kind of thing. And that is really what has helped my body return to a state of health. And so this is something that I encourage a lot of people to do. Studies showed that just changing to a whole foods plant-based diet for people that were cardiac patients actually showed a 91% improvement in just a 2-week period for people that were having cardiac episodes. And so it comes to something like diabetes, like I mentioned before. So for type 2 diabetes and reversing type 2 diabetes, it really isn't about the medication. Um, Unfortunately, what I find is that when most people attend their family doctor will sit them down and talk about the chronic and progressive disease of type 2 diabetes and that there is no way to reverse it except to put them on metformin and probably eventually insulin. And what they'll do is they'll up the dose of the metformin, and you've heard me talk about this before. But there are so many things that the body is capable of doing if we would just be taught, and if people would look into other options and be their own best health advocate. I'm going to use another example. People that are put on statin drugs for cholesterol. And there was a study that was done, and it was using Brazil nuts. If you can imagine, I was really fascinated to read about this study and how just 4 Brazil nuts a month had the same effect of reducing the LDL cholesterol in the person over a short period of time as taking the statin drugs. And if you've looked into statin drugs at all, there's a host of other problems that can come as a result of taking those. I often find that I hear people taking a medication and then they get on that medication and it might be working for the most part. And by the way I say working, I don't necessarily mean reversing the issue because, again, what happens is you get on the medication and it again is just sort of it's dealing with some of the symptoms of what the root cause is. It's not actually addressing the root cause. And so people end up having other issues come as a result of the medication that they're put on. And so then they're put on another medication. And I'm sure this isn't the first time you've heard that. So wouldn't it be interesting if people would stop and take the chance to look in at what natural things that they can do in order to help resolve the problems in their body. This is what I want to be able to teach you, is that your body can absolutely heal itself just given the opportunity. So especially if you're somebody who deals with type 2 diabetes, I encourage you to stick around, and it is my goal to help teach you to reverse that. I thank you for watching, and I do look forward to seeing you again soon.